This is André, the boss of a money company in Morocco. One day, he picked up his kids, Kalinka and Pierre, from school. His wife, Dani, introduced him to Kalinka's friend's dad, Dieter, who was a doctor and a widower. Dieter wanted Kalinka to play at his place after school, and André agreed without thinking much. The next day, Dani took the kids to play at Dieter's. While they played, Dani chatted with Dieter, who seemed to like her. He even asked her out, but she said no because she was married. On Sunday, André's family went on a trip to the mountains, but they got into a car accident. Kalinka was hurt badly, but luckily Dieter, who happened to be passing by, helped them and took Kalinka to the hospital. Kalinka got better with treatment, and when Dieter visited, he brought her a gift and said she could go home soon. André thanked him for saving Kalinka. A week later, it seemed like Dani and Dieter were getting closer. They were actually having a secret relationship. One day, André found cassette tapes from Dieter in Dani's drawer and started to suspect she was cheating. When Dani got home, André asked her a lot of questions about Dieter, and she finally admitted she was cheating. She cried and begged André not to leave her, saying she did it because he was too busy with work. André forgave her and decided to move their family to France to keep Dani away from Dieter. At the port the next day, while André was getting their permit, Dieter showed up. Dani panicked and told him to leave before André found out. A month had gone by since André moved to France, but he still felt suspicious about his wife, Dani. One morning, he noticed her acting strangely, so he secretly followed her to an apartment where he saw the name Dieter on the residence list. It turned out André's suspicions were right, Dani was still seeing Dieter. Later that day, André went back with his lawyer and caught them in the act. Without hesitation, André's lawyer sued them both for cheating, and they had to admit their mistake. This led to André and Dani getting divorced. 8 years later, André had remarried a woman named Cécile, while Dani and Dieter also got married and moved to Germany. During a holiday, André took his kids, Kalinka and Pierre, to the airport to visit their mom. Despite being divorced, André and Dani still had a good relationship as parents. They were both happy with their new partners. The next morning, while having breakfast with Cécile, André received a call from Dani, who was crying and said that Kalinka had passed away. André was devastated. When he arrived in Germany and saw Kalinka's lifeless body, he was heartbroken. He went to Dieter's house to ask about the cause of Kalinka's death. Dieter explained that Kalinka had complained of a headache and took sleeping pills, but tragically, she had a seizure and stopped breathing despite Dieter's efforts to save her. A few days later, after the autopsy, Kalinka was buried in France. At the funeral, André tried to stay strong. Later, he received the autopsy report in German, so he had it translated. The report revealed that Kalinka had signs of injection marks and white fluid on her thigh, but the exact cause of death couldn't be determined. Confused and curious about the white fluid, André consulted an expert who suggested that Kalinka might have been raped before her death. André went to Germany to confront Dieter, accusing him of the crime. Despite Dieter's denial, André was determined to uncover the truth. A year later, André tried to reopen Kalinka's case, but without strong evidence of rape, the prosecutor couldn't pursue it further. The prosecutor thought Kalinka's death was just natural and didn't want to investigate further, which made André really mad. He and the translator tried to spread the word about Kalinka's death and Dieter's crimes, but they got arrested for spreading lies. Luckily, they were released the next day, but André was determined to fight for justice. Even though he didn't know much about the law, he studied hard at the library. 2 years later, André and his lawyer asked for a new autopsy in France. They got permission, and André watched as Kalinka's grave was opened. The forensic team noticed that some important notes were missing, making André sure that Dieter had tampered with the evidence. 2 more years passed, and they finally got the autopsy results from Germany. Unfortunately, they still couldn't figure out how Kalinka died. The prosecutor suggested working with a doctor, who later explained that Kalinka was injected with medicine until she went into a coma and was likely raped while unconscious. André's suspicions were finally confirmed. After another 2 years of legal battles, Dieter was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years in prison. André was relieved and celebrated with a party at his parents' house. His father told him it was time to move forward and let go of the past. He had to begin constructing a new family with Cécile. Ever since Kalinka's passing, it seemed like a significant amount of time had passed since André had experienced genuine happiness in his life. The following day, André and Cecile were enjoying their vacation together when he unexpectedly received a call from his lawyer. The lawyer informed him that Dieter's international arrest warrant had been delayed due to diplomatic issues between France and Germany. As Dieter was a German citizen, the French government was compelled to send him back to his home country to face legal consequences. Upon hearing this news, André felt a sense of disappointment. 7 years later, while working at his office, André received a call from a German journalist. The journalist informed him that Dieter had just been arrested for sexually assaulting a minor. This case mirrored Kalinka's. The journalist invited André to Germany for an interview. The following day, after the interview, André attended Dieter's trial. During the trial, the victim recounted the sequence of abuse. Dieter had committed the same heinous acts he had inflicted upon Kalinka. He had drugged the victim until she lost consciousness and then raped her. Hearing this story reignited the old wounds in André's heart, and unable to fathom the extent of his daughter's suffering, he excused himself to the restroom to release his sorrow. However, despite Dieter's clear guilt, the judge only revoked his license and sentenced him to 2 years in prison. André was once again disappointed by this decision. After the trial concluded, André encountered Danny, but their discussion regarding Dieter's actions towards Kalinka quickly escalated as Danny fiercely defended her depraved husband. Before departing, André advised her to come to terms with reality because sooner or later, the truth would surface, and Dieter's crimes would undoubtedly be exposed. 2 years passed, and Dieter was finally released from prison. André made the decision to initiate his plan to apprehend him. André was convinced that due to Dieter's tarnished reputation as a doctor in Germany, he would seek refuge in the neighboring country of Austria. Determined to bring him to justice, André collaborated with the Austrian police to apprehend Dieter as he crossed the border. As anticipated, Dieter appeared at an Austrian train station that night, only to be swiftly arrested by the vigilant police and taken to the nearest police station. The following day, while André anxiously awaited news, he received an unexpected call from the Austrian embassy. They regretfully informed him that Dieter could not be extradited to France due to a ban imposed by the German authorities. André's plan had once again failed. Disheartened but not defeated, he returned home and refused to give up. André tirelessly wrote numerous letters of appeal, hoping that the German government would lend him their support. 9 years later, when André contemplated resuming his pursuit of Dieter, his lawyer decided to withdraw from the case, believing it to be a lost cause. Left with no other option, André resolved to continue his fight alone. He embarked on a journey to Austria, visiting one clinic after another in search of Dieter's whereabouts. It was during this arduous quest that a doctor from one of the clinics revealed that Dieter was imprisoned for engaging in illegal practices. With a heavy heart, André was compelled to patiently await Dieter's release. After 2 long years, Dieter was finally released from prison. Little did he know, André had been patiently waiting in the parking lot, secretly tailing him all the way home. Rage, André confronted Dieter, vowing to never give up on seeking justice for his daughter. With a chilling promise, André left Dieter trembling in fear. That night, André made a bold decision to take matters into his own hands. Convinced that the law couldn't help him, he hired a professional kidnapper to forcefully transport Dieter to France. Seizing the perfect opportunity when Dieter was taking out the trash, the kidnappers swiftly ambushed him and whisked him away to France. Upon arrival, they mercilessly beat Dieter and handed him over to the authorities. The next day, despite André's noble intentions, he found himself facing charges for kidnapping. However, he wore a contented smile, knowing that his daughter's killer would finally face justice. Fortunately, his lawyer managed to secure his release, and André's case became a media sensation, attracting numerous journalists eager to interview him. Meanwhile, at the prosecutor's office, Danny desperately tried to defend her husband. However, when faced with overwhelming evidence and testimonies from other victims, as well as the shocking revelation of Dieter's affair, Danny could only remain silent in disbelief. A few days later, André received a call from his lawyer, informing him of the trial's outcome. The judge made the decision to penalize and incarcerate Dieter in a prison in France. When André received the news, he felt an overwhelming sense of relief, knowing that after nearly 3 decades, his relentless fight had finally yielded results. The following morning, André made a visit to Kalinka's resting place. Standing before her grave, he reminisced about the cherished moments he had shared with his daughter. With a heavy heart, he declared that he had achieved justice for his daughter's killer, acknowledging that although it had taken a considerable amount of time, his beloved child could now find solace in eternal peace.